Chaos reigned at the reception desk in the heart of the luxurious Hotel Atlan in Berlin. A distinguished gentleman in traditional Arabic clothing gestured with increasing frustration while the hotel staff struggled with the language barrier. Managers, interpreters on the phone, even the director, who had been summoned in a hurry, were all at a loss. No one could decipher his increasingly urgent requests. Then fate intervened in the form of Anna Bergman, 28 years old, a simple chambermaid who happened to be passing by with her squeaky trolley. The sound of classical Arabic made her stop abruptly. Without thinking, she approached and offered help in a cup of peppermint tea in perfect Arabic. The man's transformation was instantaneous. His eyes lit up with astonishment and relief, which no one knew about. This man was no ordinary guest, but Sheikh Khalid al-Rashid, one of the richest men in the Middle East, on a secret mission for $1 billion investment, and he had just found much more than an interpreter. Berlin awoke under a gray November sky as Anna Bergman began her shift at the Hotel Adlon. The alarm clock had rung at 5 a.m., as it had every day for the past 3 years, tearing her from dreams in which she was still wandering through the souks of Cairo and discussing Arabic literature at the Free University. The reality was very different. 25 years old, with a master's degree in Arabic studies, gathering dust in a drawer and a heart still scarred by betrayal, she pushed her trolley through corridors that smelled of luxury and broken promises. The hotel was a legend at the Brandenburg Gate, where Russian oligarchs met Arab oil princes, and where one night cost what she earned in a month. Anna had learned to move like a shadow, invisible but indispensable, polishing mirrors that reflected lives that were not hers. She laid Egyptian cotton on beds where others dreamed of fortunes she would never possess. That morning, however, something disturbed the perfect routine of the Adlon. As she was making up the presidential suite, the commotion from the reception area penetrated the walls. It wasn't the usual complaints from spoiled guests or impossible demands from celebrities. There was a different urgency in the voices coming up from the ground floor. A nervousness that seemed to charge the air like electricity before a thunderstorm. Anna tried to ignore her curiosity and concentrate on her work, but when she heard Mr. Schroeder, the unshakable Prussian who remained calm even during state visits, almost shouting on the phone, she knew that something extraordinary was going on. She used the excuse of refilling her car to go down to the reception desk. The scene that greeted her in the marble entrance hall was worthy of a play. In the middle of the room, surrounded by a growing number of increasingly nervous employees, stood a man who seemed to have stepped out of 1001 Nights. He wore a spotless white dish dasha that highlighted his olive skin, his head covered by a keffiyeh held in place by a black turban interwoven with gold thread. He was tall, in his mid-50s, with a perfectly groomed beard and dark eyes that sparkled with restrained frustration. He spoke Arabic, gesturing with hands adorned with rings of obvious value, while the reception manager sweated despite the air conditioning. The shift supervisor had already called a telephone interpreting service, but the connection was poor and the translator on the other end seemed to be confusing matters more than clarifying them. Every attempt at communication increased the mysterious guest's frustration. Anna stood near a pillar, hidden but close enough to hear. Her heart raced when she recognized not only Arabic, the language she had loved and studied for years, but also the particular dialect. It was not the standard Arabic of the news or the colloquial Egyptian she knew so well. It was the refined Arabic of the Emirates, with those special intonations that suggested not only wealth but also a princely upbringing. The man was clearly explaining something of vital importance. The words sweet, safety, and absolute privacy were repeated, but there was more. He kept mentioning Amira and using medical terms that Anna recognized: immune deficiency, sterile environment, air filtration. This was not the whim of a spoiled rich man. There was genuine urgency in his voice, poorly concealed paternal concern beneath the frustration. She also noticed how he systematically looked around, cataloging exits and blind spots. And then there were the others, at least 3 men in expensive but inconspicuous Western suits, strategically positioned in the hall, pretending to read newspapers or check their cell phones, but never taking their eyes off the man in the white robe. Bodyguards, Anna realized. Professionals disguised as tourists. The telephone interpreter made the situation worse by mistranslating important terms. When the man mentioned the Charité, Berlin's famous hospital, the interpreter understood charity and caused further confusion. The guest's frustration grew visibly. Anna felt the words forming in her throat before she consciously decided to intervene. She hadn't spoken serious Arabic for 3 years, since she had returned from Cairo with a broken heart and shattered dreams. Mahmoud had blinded her with promises of a life together, a career at Cairo University, only to give in to family pressure and marry his parents' choice of cousin. She had returned to Germany with an unfinished dissertation and the bitter certainty that all her love for this culture had not been enough to make her one of them. But now, as she heard this beloved language flow like desperate music from the mouth of this obviously powerful but vulnerable man, something awakened in her. She left the car by the pillar and approached the group, her heart beating wildly in her chest. She cleared her throat and spoke, not in German or English, but in Arabic. And not just any Arabic, but the formal, elegant Arabic with the perfect, polite form of address she had learned at diplomatic receptions in Cairo. Peace be with you, Your Excellency. Allow me to offer you assistance in this moment of difficulty. The silence that followed was deafening. The man turned abruptly, his eyes wide with astonishment. The hotel staff stared at her as if she had grown wings. Director Schroeder looked as if he was about to faint from shock at hearing his modest chambermaid speak fluently in a language he had no idea she knew. But it was the Arab man's reaction that impressed him most. The frustration disappeared from his face, replaced first by disbelief, then by deep relief, and finally by something that looked like respect. He replied in Arabic, his voice suddenly calm, and said that peace be with them. Allah must have sent her. Please help me make this good man understand that my daughter is dying and I need her help. Anna felt the weight of these words like a blow. She translated quickly. Director Schroeder explained professionally that the guest was here to have his seriously ill daughter treated at the Charité. He needed the most secluded suite with the possibility of installing additional air purification systems. The child, Amira, 12 years old, suffered from severe immune deficiency, and every precaution was vital. As she translated back and forth and finally made communication possible, Anna noticed how the man was studying her. Not with the condescension of a rich man towards staff, but with genuine curiosity. When she had organized everything, the penthouse suite with private elevator access, the permits for temporary renovations, coordination with the hospital, the man turned directly to her. You are not just an interpreter, he said in Arabic, and it was not a question. Your Arabic is that of someone who has lived among us, studied with us. How is it that a daughter of Germania speaks the language of the desert better than many who were born there? Anna lowered her gaze, suddenly aware of her gray uniform, the abandoned car, the social divide that separated them. But there was no contempt in the man's voice, only genuine curiosity. And so, while the hotel staff hurried to prepare everything according to the new instructions, she found herself briefly recounting her studies, her passion for Arabic literature, her years in Cairo. The man nodded slowly, and for the first time since he had entered the hotel, a small smile appeared on his tired face. Fate works in mysterious ways, he said. This morning I cursed this country where no one understood my words, but perhaps it was meant to be that I should meet you. He then introduced himself, not with his full name, which would have revealed his true identity, but simply as Abu Amira, Emias's father. It was a gesture of humanity that touched Anna more than she wanted to admit. At that moment, he was not Sheikh Khalid bin Rashid Al Maktoum, one of the most powerful men in the Middle East, but just a desperate father in a foreign country. Before going up to the suite, he turned to her once more. Will you come and visit us, he asked. Amira would be happy to talk to someone in our language. She's been away from home for so long. Anna nodded, her throat tight with emotion. As the golden elevator doors closed above the group and carried a fate she could not yet imagine upward, she remained standing in the marble hall. Director Schroeder stared at her with a mixture of shock and reappraisal. Her colleagues whispered excitedly, but Anna didn't hear them. In her head, the Arabic words held that language she had tried to forget along with the pain of betrayal. For the first time in 3 years, she didn't feel like a failure with a useless degree. She felt exactly where fate wanted her to be. In the days that followed, Anna was personally assigned to the penthouse suite at the Adlon. While installing air purifiers and checking every detail, she got to know the fragile Amira better. 12 years of delicate grace. The girl beamed when Anna told her in Arabic about Berlin's Oriental history and recited verses by Persian poets who had once lived in the city. The sheikh observed these interactions with growing interest. One evening, while Amira was asleep, he asked her to come to the living room of the suite. He wanted to hear her story, and Anna, perhaps out of tiredness or the need to confide in someone, told him more than she intended. She spoke of her master's degree in Arabic and Islamic studies at the Free University of Berlin, of the Da'ad scholarship in Cairo, where she perfected her classical Arabic, of Mahmoud, who had dazzled her with promises of eternal love, only to then give in to family traditions. She told him about returning to Berlin with her dreams shattered, about how speaking 5 languages had not prevented her from ending up cleaning rooms. The sheikh listened in silence, then shared his own truth. He was not just a wealthy tourist, he was Khalid bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Minister of Strategic Investments, on a secret mission for a 30 billion renewable energy project. He was looking for reliable European partners, and Germany, with its experience in solar and wind power, was crucial, but above all, he was a desperate father who had already lost his wife and now risked losing his only daughter. He confessed that speaking Arabic with someone who understood not only the words but the soul of the language was like breathing after months underwater. Anna understood that this all-powerful man was simply a frightened father, and something stirred in her heart. Amira visibly blossomed in the days that followed. The improvised Kigrahi lessons, the stories from 1001 Nights adapted to German tastes, the word games mixing Arabic and German made her laugh as she hadn't done in months. The doctors at the Charité confirmed that her mood was crucial for the experimental treatment. During one of these sessions, Anna saw some forgotten documents on the desk. The logo made her blood run cold. It was the renewable energy consulting firm of Stefan, her ex-boyfriend from college. The paper showed that he was on the list to manage part of the Emirates project. Stefan, who had left her with the words, "Your Arab stories are a waste of time," was about to close the deal of his life. The sheikh found Anna pale in front of the documents. Instead of getting angry about the invasion of his privacy, he sighed and revealed that he knew everything. His investigators had discovered the connection when he began to consider hiring her. He knew the story with Stefan, how he had mocked her studies as useless, how he had ridiculed her passion for Arab culture. But there was more. Stefan already had a preliminary contract, but irregularities had appeared in his reports. Possible fraud was being investigated. The sheikh looked at her intently and noticed how fate had a strange way of bringing about justice. She spoke his language better than all of Stefan's advisors combined and understood the cultural subtleties that were crucial to the project's success. Professor Mueller from the Charité brought bittersweet news. The experimental therapy for Amira required a compatible donor, something extremely rare for her genetic profile. The chances were slim, but there was a clinic in Munich that was researching stem cells and offered hope. The sheikh took it with royal dignity, but Anna saw the despair in his eyes. That evening, the proposal that would change everything came. The sheikh wanted her to become Amira's personal companion, not as a mere employee, but as a tutor, a trusted cultural bridge. He would take her first to Dubai, then to Munich for treatment. The salary offered was astronomical, but it wasn't the money that appealed to Anna. It was the opportunity to return to the Arab world she loved and to make a difference for this extraordinary girl. Anna asked for time to think it over, torn between opportunity and fear. Dubai would remind her of Cairo. Do you like this story? Give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Now let's continue with the video about Mahmoud and his betrayed dreams. And there was her mother in Charlottenburg, a widow dependent on her modest salary. The sheikh promised to take care of her, bring her to Dubai, or guarantee her the best care in Berlin. It was not charity, he insisted, but an investment. He had seen how his daughter blossomed with her. It was Amira who decided for her. She showed her a drawing of 2 women, one Arab and one wearing a German dirndl, flying together over the Brandenburg Gate to a desert palace. "That's us in my dream," she said simply. "We traveled together forever." Anna's heart melted. Dubai welcomed Anna like a fairy tale princess. The palace on the Persian Gulf was a paradise, but the real wonder was the library. Thousands of manuscripts, including 19th century German works on Oriental studies. Amira blossomed day by day. The lessons with Anna had become her reason for living. Fate orchestrated its masterstroke during a German-Arab economic summit in Berlin. The Sheikh had insisted that Anna accompany him as a cultural advisor. Delegations from all over Germany, including Stefan's company. The look on his face when he saw Anna enter the federal chancellery, elegantly dressed in an outfit that combined German fashion with Arab modesty, conversing fluently with ministers and ambassadors, was worth years of suffering. The Sheikh introduced her as Dr. Bergman, a specialist in German-Arab relations, and Stefan almost choked on his champagne. When he tried to approach her, stammering apologies, Anna maintained a professional coolness she had learned from the Sheikh. And when he suggested trying again, she replied in Arabic, knowing he wouldn't understand. The desert wind erases the tracks in the sand, but the rock remembers every storm. That evening, Schick publicly announced that all German project partners would be investigated due to irregularities that had come to light. The look he gave Stefan was telling. Her ex's consulting firm would be excluded from billions in contracts. Months later, Stefan was investigated for tax fraud and lost everything he had built on the contempt of others. Meanwhile, between trips to Munich, where Amira was receiving revolutionary treatment, something deep grew between Anna and the Sheikh. It wasn't just gratitude or professional appreciation. It was love, complicated and pure, yet only true love can be. It showed in small gestures. He learned German words to make her laugh. She made peppermint tea the way her grandmother had taught her. They both stayed awake together during Amira's difficult nights in the hospital. It was Amira herself, with the innocence of children who see beyond conventions, who uttered the unspeakable during a doctor's visit in Munich. "If you get married, can I call you Mom?" The silence that followed was deafening, but an undeniable truth shone in both their eyes. The day of the stem cell transplant arrived on a bright March morning in Munich. Anna had spent the night with Amira, telling her the story of the Bavarian princess who united cultures through love. The operation lasted endless hours, during which the Sheikh prayed in the hospital chapel, and Anna read the poems the girl had written in Arabic and German. The success of the procedure was only the beginning. Months of recovery saw Anna transform the sterile hospital room into a miniature palace. Hand-painted Bavarian tiles mingled with Arabic calligraphy. Virtual courses in which Amira learned to waltz and dapple at the same time. The Sheikh watched this devotion with infinite gratitude and growing love. The initially skeptical Emirati royal family was won over when the impressive paternal grandmother visited Munich. They expected a fortune hunter and found an educated woman who quoted Rusht in Arabic and Goethe in German, who had given Amira back her joy and Khalid his peace. The matriarch privately blessed a union that transcended borders. The marriage proposal came with touching simplicity during a walk in the English garden. The Sheikh confessed that he had found in her not only a tutor for his daughter, but also the love he had never expected to feel again. Anna accepted with tears of joy and set her conditions: to continue her academic research, to retain her German identity, and to raise future children in both cultures. He not only accepted, but fell even more in love with her strength. The wedding merged two worlds in perfect harmony. An intimate ceremony was held in the mosque in Munich Sendling, followed by a celebration at Neuen Castle, with special permits that only the power of the Sheikh could obtain. Anna's mother, dressed in Bavarian traditional costume, wept with joy as she saw her daughter marry a man who respected and loved her for who she was, not despite it. The interrupted doctorate came back to life with renewed vigor. With access to unique manuscripts in Dubi's private libraries and German archives on the Orient, Anna completed a revolutionary dissertation on the mutual influence of German Romanticism and Arab mysticism in 2 years. Humboldt University and the American University, Dubai, competed for her talent. She decided to divide her time between the two. 5 years later, the Berlin IC hosted a historic event, the inauguration of the German Arab Institute for Renewable Energy, the fruit of the mega project that had united their destinies. Anna, now Dr. Bergman Al Maktoum, headed the cultural department, which ensured mutual understanding in projects that would transform the energy landscape of both regions. In the front row, 3 girls looked on with adoration. Amira, now 17 and fully recovered, had grown into a young woman who wrote poetry in 3 languages. The twins, Zara and Greta, 4 years old, inheritors of their father's Arab eyes and their mother's German determination, played with their dolls, dressed as a belly dancer and in dirndls. Sheikh Khalid looked at his family with daily amazement. He had been looking for an emergency interpreter and had found the love of his life. Anna had served peppermint tea and received a realm of affection and purpose. But beyond their personal fairy tale, they had built real bridges between cultures. The Institute not only developed solar projects that utilized German knowledge in Arab capital, it also awarded scholarships to students from both regions, financed translations of classics, and organized festivals where Beethoven dialogued with Kulthum. Stefan, who was serving a sentence for fraud in prison, had sent a letter of apology, which Anna read without resentment and filed away. The past was prologue. Anna's mother, who now divided her time between Charlottenburg and Dubai, had become an unexpected celebrity. Her recipes, which fused German cuisine with Arabic accents, had millions of followers on social media. My girl was always special, she told anyone who would listen. She studied those strange Arabic books while her cousins chased after soccer players. Look who's laughing now. That afternoon, after the housewarming, the family returned to the Hotel Adlon for a private dinner, the same place where, years earlier, a chambermaid had offered help to a desperate father. Director Schroeder, now a personal friend, had prepared the table under the lime trees with rose petals floating in rose water. Amira rose for a toast, her clear voice carrying through the hall. To encounters that seem like chance but are destiny. To mothers we choose and who choose us. To bridges we build with words and love. Anna felt the tears flow as her adoptive and biological families joined their voices in the toast. That night, while the girls slept and Khalid looked through documents for the next project, Anna stepped out onto the balcony overlooking the illuminated Brandenburg Gate. In her hand was a letter from Harvard University inviting her to head the new Department of Transcultural Studies. Another door open and another bridge to build. She remembered that morning 5 years ago when she was just a chambermaid with broken dreams pushing a cart. A woman who had studied languages and cultures only to end up cleaning rooms. But knowledge is never useless. Love for other cultures always finds its purpose. And sometimes fate only needs a moment of courage to rewrite an entire life. The Berlin wind carried the scent of lime and jasmine, merging Germany with Arabia in an olfactory symphony that was the perfect metaphor for her life. Somewhere in the city, another young woman with impossible dreams was perhaps studying Arabic against all practical advice. Anna smiled. If her story taught anything, it was that impossible dreams are only those of people who are afraid to cross boundaries. Khalid appeared behind her and hugged her from behind. Harvard, he asked after seeing the letter. If you want, she replied, but on one condition. Amira will finish high school in Berlin. I don't want her to forget where half her heart comes from. He kissed her neck and murmured words of love in Arabic, which she replied to in German. 2 languages, 2 cultures, 1 family. The circle was complete, but it was a circle in an upward spiral. Always growing, always inclusive, always building bridges where others saw walls. Because in the end, that's the real magic of speaking another language. It's not just words we translate, but souls we connect. And sometimes it all starts with a simple cup of peppermint tea, offered at the right moment in the language of the heart. If this story has touched you and shown you that knowledge is never useless and that fate can hide in the most unexpected moments, give it a like with all your heart. Share to remind everyone that learning languages and cultures opens doors we didn't even know existed. Subscribe now to the channel for more incredible stories that show how a simple gesture of understanding can change entire lives.